Thank you for listening and welcome to the Life Radio Show, a once proud member of the now defunct Eventide Entertainment Podcast Network. I'm your host, Don Smith. The wonderful Erica Russell is in as guest co-host. We talk on the phone with filmmaker Michael Anthony Giudicissi about his upcoming film, In Their Own Words, Billy the Kid and the Lincoln County War. If you enjoy the show, like and follow the Life 1069 on Facebook and Don Smith Comedy on Twitter, or tune in live on Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. on WWSU 106.9 FM, or you can stream the show live at WWSU1069.org.
The brutal presence overwhelms me. The brutal presence overwhelms me.
All right, welcome to the Life Radio Show. I'm your host, Don Smith. I'm sitting in with my guest co-host, Erica Russell.
Heyo.
Hi, how's it going? We've been here most of the morning doing these, so we're a little I think a little slap happy now. And
Speak for yourself, Don. I'm raring to go.
Okay. I'm not. We are on the phone with Michael G, because I don't want to destroy his last name.
Giudicissi, I believe, right?
Giudicissi, yes.
You got it. Hey, well done. Nice.
See, I was a teacher. I'm used to memorizing names.
Okay.
Welcome, Michael.
Thank you so much for having me. I sure appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you. Now, we want to find out a little bit about you. You are, is it Mankind Productions?
Yes, sir. That is my production company.
Okay, and you recently or are about to premiere In Their Own Words.
Yes, December 7th will be the premiere of our first feature film. It's called In Their Own Words, Billy the Kid and the Lincoln County War. And it's kind of a unique first-person take on what happened to old Billy and his friends and enemies.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now, you filmed a lot of this down in, you're out of New Mexico, right?
Yes, we filmed a good portion of it here, a little bit in Texas, just south of Fort Worth. And through the cooperation of the village of Fort Sumner, where the kid is buried, as well as the Chamber of Commerce, we actually got to film right there at the gravesite in the old post cemetery.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah. And to my knowledge, it's the first feature film about Billy the Kid where any footage was actually done in Fort Sumner. So we're pretty excited to premiere it in Fort Sumner just in a little over a week.
That's amazing.
Wow.
I'm a huge fan of Westerns myself, so this
go.
all gets my skin tingling. That sounds amazing.
All right. I'll take skin tingling from anybody. So
Right.
Yeah, that's a good start to
But
the
I mean,
day.
to be able to authentically film it at Fort Sumter is such a cool thing.
Yes. Yeah, it was. It was awesome.
Yeah, now I spent some time years ago out in
Or
Las
Sumner,
Cruces.
right? Not Sumter. Yeah,
yes.
Sumner.
Sumner,
My mistake.
yes.
Yes.
So I'd spent some time years ago out in Las Cruces. I believe they have the Billy the Kid Museum out in Las
Yes.
Cruces, don't they?
Yeah, so Billy was tried after he was caught by Pat Garrett. He was sent down to Mesilla, just next to Las Cruces to be tried, and he was found guilty, and that's where he was sentenced to hang. And so there's a building that served as the jail, and they have a museum down there. So every little town kind of in southern New Mexico seems to have some little Billy the Kid connection, and they do the best they can to keep the legend alive, and we're doing our little part here too.
Yeah, awesome. So tell me a little bit about the concept of the movie, if you would, because it's in their own words, so there's a little different take on it.
Yeah, there's two key differences between this and Young Guns or Chisholm or any of the films you've seen. The first one is the concept is if we pull these people from the grave today, if we could resurrect them and say, hey, we're going to interview you, and you're going to get to say whatever you want about what happened, what you felt, what you did, what you didn't do, who you liked and who you hated. And we interviewed Billy as well as 16 of his friends and enemies. And we took all those interviews and we cut them together to form the story, a story arc of his lifeline from birth, meeting his mother, through his death in Fort Sumner, or if you believe he didn't die there, then you may have a different take on that because there's a couple of people that claim to be him much later. The second key difference in the film is it was completely unscripted. And so each actor, when they were cast, was assigned homework, and they had to study, read up, understand their character. And when they came on set, although I was there directing the where we were going in the story, all of the answers came directly from the actors and their research and their belief of how that character would respond if given the chance to talk today.
Oh, that's really cool.
So it's filmed as an imagined documentary, sort of.
That's exactly right.
That is brilliant.
Well, thank you. It would be as if they were sitting in front of you today. It's totally first person. So as the interviewer, you'll never hear or see me on camera. It's completely first person from the characters themselves. And in some cases, they answer each other or answer each other's points. And in some places, they contradict each other's points. Much probably like it would be if we brought all those people back for a day and got to talk to them.
Right.
Absolutely.
They all have a little different perspective of what happened. Well, it's kind of interesting that it's not scripted, that you just let the actors do enough studying to where they could answer for them. That I think is a really interesting concept.
Yeah, thank you. So we cast everybody about 3 months before before principal photography began. So we wanted to give them enough time. Some of the actors are actually historical reenactors and knew their character and the history very well. Others were just good actors who had no idea about Billy the Kid or any of his story and really had to do a fair amount of research. It makes it challenging when you talk about somebody, say, like Paulita Maxwell or Sally Chisholm or someone like that, or Bob Ollinger, because they didn't leave a lot of historical record. The quotes and the information they left behind is pretty scarce. So you have to read what you can, and then you have to really put that character on, and you have to become them and figure out how they would have felt, what they would have said, what they would have wished would happen. And my actors really did just a wonderful job in that.
It's amazing to think that, the job of actors a lot of the time is to channel things, right? And for those roles where there wasn't as much historical context for them to base it on, you wonder how much of it was actually channeling, the spirit or character that they were portraying.
Absolutely right. And one of our actors, Sheila Eden, portrayed Catherine Antrim, Billy's mom. And it happens to be Sheila's birthday today, so shout out and happy birthday, Sheila. If you imagine, she died when Billy was somewhere around 14 years old. So she never knew what her son became. She would have no idea of that. Yet in this film, while we interview her up until the point of her death from tuberculosis, she stays on for a little bit, and through, you would assume, watching the rest of these interviews, learns what became of both of her sons. And you could imagine the emotion that would go into that, to find out that your baby boy that you loved and cherished became the most noted outlaw in the history of the American West. And we do capture that from her at the end of the film.
That was going to be my next question for you was, did you deliberately keep your actors separate so that their stories would be singular, or did you allow them to kind of talk to each other, and did you show the other interviews before you would film certain ones?
So we didn't show the interviews to any of the other actors. I couldn't certainly control what happened offset. While we were on set, we kept them segregated. And because of the filming of one interview at a time in different locations or sets within the same building, we brought them in to go through wardrobe, hair, and makeup, had them do their interview, and then we released them. So there wasn't a lot of discussion while we were on set that went on, and it didn't appear to me like there was a lot of discussion offset before filming, because there wasn't a lot of coordinated effort or statements between the actors. There's quite a bit. As you can imagine, even today, somebody remembered something one way, somebody else remembered it another way, and then a third person said, no, they're both wrong, here's what really happened. And we did capture a lot of that.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I just think that whole setup and structure is amazing.
Thank you.
Now, I have one quick question about casting. the name Scurlock is not extremely common. You have Scott Scurlock playing Doc Scurlock. Is there a relation there? Is that a descendant?
Well, I'm glad you caught that. That's a great question. Scott Scurlock, who happens to be a good friend of mine, is the actual real-life great-grandson of Doc Scurlock.
Awesome.
You're kidding me!
Lincoln County regulator. And there's kind of a funny story that goes along with that. Scott was born in, I think it was Maine or New Hampshire, and he grew up his whole life on the East Coast. When the Young Guns movies came out, and I think it was kind of mid-'80s, the first Young Guns movie, he saw it along with his friends, and they were kind of joking, oh, you have the same last name, you must be related to him. Scott had no earthly idea who Doc Scurlock was and had no idea he was related, but because of that movie, started doing a little research, discovered a large clan of Scurlocks in Texas where Doc settled down, and found out he actually was Doc's great-grandson.
Well, that's
my skin is tingling again. That's crazy.
Yes, and a little bonus trivia, when you see Scott in the film, portraying Doc as an old man, because Doc did live to into his 80s, the glasses that Scott is wearing are Doc's actual glasses that had been retained by the family. His cousin sent them.
Glasses?
And they're Doc's glasses. So he had to have new, just glass lenses put in so he could see. But yeah, so we had a real good time with that.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. So Scott's a friend of yours outside of this. Is this the reason you tried to get into the? you wanted to do the Billy the Kid?
No, when I first got involved in the film industry, really just a couple of years ago, one of the first people I met was Scott, and he worked on another project with me and just became friendly. He just moved actually from New Mexico to Florida. So we, I haven't seen him in person since we filmed, but we've got another project together. But great guy, really very kind and calm, and really a kind of a generous actor in that he's always giving the credit away, and he's been really good at working with other actors and some other things we've done. So he's a great guy. I wish he was still here. I miss him, but we'll see him again hopefully real soon.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to find an actor that gets along with all the other actors, because sometimes they don't.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Although we didn't have any major, probably because we didn't have a lot of actors together.
Well, they weren't doing. Yeah.
Yeah, no two of them ever appear on camera together. Although it might appear that they're talking to each other. So we didn't have any issues with that.
That's good. So, what made you decide to get into filmmaking, and how long ago? You said just a few years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a couple of years ago, August of 2017, I was looking to fulfill one of my bucket list items. I've done a lot of things in my life as I've gotten older, only because I was just dumb enough to believe that I could actually do them. Right. So I've written 7 books, and I've gone back to performing music. And one of my bucket list items was to be an actor in some capacity on something, a film or a TV show, just once, just to say I did it. I wanted to have my own IMDb page.
Oh, yeah.
So I got a kind of a featured background part in a little sci-fi short that was filming here in Albuquerque. We filmed for 12 hours, I remember, overnight, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. I haven't seen it, but I probably was on screen for maybe 5 or 6 seconds. And it was one of the worst experiences ever. I hated acting. I hated everything about it. But what I kept leaving the holding area for the background actors, and I kept sneaking onto the set and looking around the corner of the building because I was fascinated with what I was seeing as far as the process. The director and the first AD and the PA shuttling people. It was like a concert, like a choreography. And I thought, gosh, this is really wild. I wonder if I could ever be a part of this. And I had always been creative in coming up with stories, and so that really was the genesis of me wanting to start to take some of the ideas that I had and turn them into film.
Right. So you wanted to be more the background part of it than the action than on camera.
Yeah, I have zero desire to be an actor or to be on camera.
But what it sounds like to me is that you wanted to be the conductor of that orchestra.
Right.
Not that you wanted to be in the background, but that you saw the system flourishing and you thought, I could be the person who directs it.
That's exactly right, Erica. I love writing and creating. That process is very satisfying, to take an idea and turn it into a story. And then it's like putting the icing on the cake when you get to go on set and take the story you created and see it come to life before your eyes with this, talented cast and crew. If I just had to pick one, I probably would pick writing, because I love the creation process. But because I don't have to choose, at least not now, I get to direct as well.
I'm with you on that. You get to be the god of the universe when you're the writer, right?
You're the creator. Yeah.
I guess so.
And you can kill people whenever you want. That's get away with it, because you're writing.
And again and again and again. Back to one. We're going to kill you again.
I'm really struck by what I think is the brilliance of the format that you came up with. Did that have an inspiration, or was it something that just sort of came to you?
I started a little web series about a year and a half ago, and I called it One Day Only. And it was something I really wanted to do to practice the craft of filmmaking. And so what I did is, because I was in this world here out west, and I knew some of these reenactors, I would take one character, and I would interview them face to face as their character, as if we brought them back to life. So the first one was Wild Bill Hickok, with local actor James Blackburn, who did a terrific job. And then we interviewed Doc Holliday and Johnny Ringo and Big Nose Kid. And so I was continuing with that and thinking, well, there might be something more here. The reviews, when we would post them on Facebook or YouTube, were good. We got many thousands of views on them. And I thought, okay, is it possible to tell a bigger story with this concept? Because people seem to be engaged in it. And I can't compete with a Hollywood film that's got a $40 million budget,
right,
and have all of the action and the props and horses. I mean, just couldn't do it. But could I create a compelling film in this first-person ideology?
That's what I think
budget,
is,
and that's how I decided to pursue this one.
Yeah, if you can't compete with the money, change up the format. Do something no one has ever done. That's your value proposition. You don't
Correct.
need the CGI. You just need something that's never been done before.
Right, and I think documentaries themselves are becoming more and more popular.
Exactly.
Lately,
I mean,
anyway.
Netflix
So that would really add into that.
Well, and also having done the project that you did as a precursor to this, it seems like you would have a pretty reliable cachet of really good historical actors in your back pocket. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did. And I had some anchors, right? Some people I knew could portray some of the key characters. A reenactor / actor out of Texas, Kelly Kidd, plays Pat Garrett, who ultimately, puts a bullet in Billy at the end of his life. And Kelly, I had come to know from he's serving as the reenactor at the old Lincoln Days pageant down in Lincoln, New Mexico.
Wow.
So every year they have a big festival, and they have reenactors come in to reenact specific characters. So he had to know the history of Pat Garrett in order to get that role, and so it just made sense to recruit him.
Yeah, good deal.
Now, Michael, are you from New Mexico, or did you come there from elsewhere?
Well, I'm born and raised in Palisades Park, New Jersey, of all places. And my entire family is from there. My mom was an Italian immigrant, and my grandfather on my dad's side was the same. And I was kind of the only one that escaped. My backstory is that I also saw the Young Guns movies in 85 or 86. I was not a Western fan, knew nothing about Billy the Kid, but I was dating a girl who just loved Kiefer Sutherland. She loved.
That's how all good things start, right? I was dating this broad.
So she made me go see the film, and if you look back when they did the promotion for Young Guns, it didn't mention anything about Billy the Kid. Not that I would have known anyway. So I'm sitting in the movie theater, and this movie starts to unfold, and then I hear the name Billy, and then Billy the Kid, and I go, oh wow, this is a story of like a real person. And I became kind of fascinated by it, but nothing much more happened until the second Young Guns film came out. I saw it, and then I started buying all the books and reading and researching, and I won a contest at work with 2 plane tickets to anywhere in the USA.
Wow.
And so I decided to fly to New Mexico. And drove to Lincoln. And then a year later, I got in my little truck and drove out here. So I've been living here 23 plus years now.
Wow.
That's amazing. As someone who, I lived in the West for a while, and I can tell you, I do think there's something special about the energy there or the people there. It was the happiest I've ever been when I lived out west. I lived in Pagosa Springs for a while, which is close to the border of New Mexico. Denver. It's just, I don't know what it is about the mountains or the people, or, in Sedona, they claim there's some magical crystal vortex. But, I'm from Ohio myself, and I just was always sort of seduced by the allure of the West.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we got plenty of room out here, Erica. You can come back out.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been out there, but I always thought if I was going to move anywhere else in the country, New Mexico, Arizona, I loved it out there. I'd spent my first wife, she was a traveling MRI tech, and she was stationed out in Las Cruces for like 2.5 years. So I went out there, about every 3-4 weeks, mm-hmm. I'd fly back out to Las Cruces. So I kind of fell in love with that whole area. Now, mm-hmm. being that close to Tombstone, are you looking at any projects with the Earps or anything?
Well, there you go. There's my lead-in. So the next film, which we've already slated and we've got our filming date set, is called 30 Seconds in Hell. And the subtitle is the Clantons, the Earps, and 30 Seconds That Changed the American West.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're going to take this... We're going to take this same philosophy, and we are going to do a film about that gunfight with kind of a unique twist on the way that we're going to approach. Aside from the first-person interviews, I've got another little mechanism that I'm going to do to make this as dramatic as I can. And again, I mean, Tombstone and Wyatt Earp, those movies recently have done a wonderful job of live action showing you that. So we're not looking to recreate that. We're looking to pick the brain of these people, and some of the ones that were ignored in those very popular films, but played a big part on that. So that'll be filming early next year, February and March, and we hope to release it sometime near the end of the summer.
Excellent.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like to do when I went out in that area. We would just go on long road trips over the weekend, and I kind of went a couple different places following Wyatt Earp. We spent a night in Dodge City, Kansas.
Ooh,
and
Dodge
out there
City.
For a little while.
Dodge City is still as rough as it always was.
It's pretty much
rough.
They have like the only thing that outnumbers the saloons were the churches, I think. And
mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
You need them in equal measure.
Yep.
One thing I do have to ask: any interest in Jesse James?
Well, yes, and so that's. I don't want to limit my filmmaking career to these first-person interview films, but there is a story to be told there. What I found when I started doing some research on Jesse James, because it really was almost a coin flip between the Tombstone film and that, is that there are people to this day, much like the Hatfields and McCoys, that have such deep feelings around Jesse James and what happened to him and what his ultimate demise was. That there's lawsuits, there's death threats.
I know.
There's a lot of stuff going on back in Missouri. And so I thought, I better spend some more time researching this and figure out what side of history to be on before I wade into it, because I don't want to be on the end of a lawsuit or a death threat. So
no, I feel you. I feel you.
At some point, yes.
I ask because I lived in Missouri. I moved back to Ohio, but I spent a couple years in Missouri and got the pleasure of going to the Merrimack Caverns, which is where the Jesse James Museum is, because it was where he would stash all of his loot with, the guys that he ran around with. And it's just an incredible artifact. The park itself is beautiful. It's Merrimack Caverns in Missouri. There's a river that runs alongside it that's, as clear as the Caribbean. It's a beautiful part of the country you don't think of as that. But going back into those caves and just imagining, if something goes wrong, guys, this is where we're going to meet. This is where the loot's been stored. But, when you take those tours and read about his whole story in the museum, you're absolutely right. That whole feud is alive and well today. It's still being kind of fought out in a court of law. So it makes sense to kind of stay away from it because, I mean, I know Missouri, it's like, it's the Mississippi of the Midwest, man. Anything goes out there. You never know who's going to put a hit out on you if you're on the wrong side of the Jesse James argument. But
Yep. And the big difference maybe between Jesse and Billy is, Billy died at a young age. He probably fathered at least a few kids, none of which seem to have survived into adulthood. None of them were officially recognized as his kids. But Jesse James did have a family. He had a wife. He had a number of children. And so he does have a number of descendants around the country. And so that's really the reason for, there's so many people that want to hang on to the story or honor the story. And so if there's an opposing point of view, there's a lot of people that are going to look to tamp that down.
What's so fascinating, though, about the way that you've structured your storytelling and your filmmaking is that that's absolutely what you highlight, right? When you get all those different perspectives from the horse's mouth of a historical character who was involved in it, So it's like there's a million different versions of the story depending on who you ask.
Right, and you'd be getting different sides of it from the different people. Yeah.
It's just that Jesse's is a little bit too alive today.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's to me it's really interesting to see and hear what these actors did come up with. The byproduct of the unscripted format, at least in this film, is that we had somewhere between 11 and 12 hours of footage that I needed. We ultimately came up with an hour and 43-minute movie, but because there was no script to follow, I actually had to do the initial edit, right? I had to create the story arc.
Right, you had to wade through and get what you needed to line up for. Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, I had to play it through. I wound up watching each character's footage probably 4 to 5 times, so 50 to 60 hours of just watching to log and note what was said where and then which scene this should go into. And so it was a very laborious, months of work just to get that initial edit and storyline in place and then hand it off to a real editor, that could then clean it up and make a clear film out of it. So I think, I learned some things here that will help make the next one run more smoothly, but we won't lose that immediacy. Right. And then the last part of this is some of these characters said things that were very surprising, and we included those in the film. Surprising as there's no historical context to it, but there's no historical context to say that couldn't have happened. And there were some opinions that characters expressed that surprised me. I mean, more than once I said, "Holy crap!" when we cut, I can't believe they just said that. And so it's from that perspective, there's some things in there. We follow, the historical timeline pretty closely, but there's some things you're not going to expect.
I love that because, again, the actor's job is to channel, and who knows if they were doing it correctly. My guess is it was probably pretty excruciating to make some of those decisions about what you cut and what you save.
Yeah, we could have, I told somebody kind of jokingly, we could have done a mini-series out of everything we got. Yeah. It's hard in this first-person interview setting to maintain people's attention, so the story's got to move pretty quick. We have a wonderful score from our composer, Mariano Solino, that helps that. So I couldn't make a 3 or 4 hour film, or I shouldn't, but I could have. I mean, there were so many arcane facts and details and situations, but it really was tough to decide what had to be left behind, because some of these historians would want every single word. So maybe there'll be a Blu-ray someday with, an extended director's cut. But I need a little time away from editing to think about that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, you spend that much time editing, you're going to need some time and just get some distance from it before you go back and fight it again.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and take a short break, and when we come back, we might talk to you a little bit about your music, because when I first looked, I think at your Facebook page, it said you were a singer. So
that's correct, yeah.
So when we come back, we'll look into that a little bit and perhaps hit some silly news stories just for fun. All right, so we'll be back here shortly on the Life Radio Show.
tongue, you tell me this is who I am, this is who I am, and maybe I should give in, let it go. You promised me you'd be my anodyne. You promised me you'd be my anodyne. That I spend with you, your words are cutting deeper still, even deeper still. I hate it, but I can't seem to find my peace. And so I breathe you in like a cigarette. With every breath you're killing me, slowly killing me. But damn it, if you don't taste so sweet. You were supposed to be my anodyne. You were supposed to be my anodyne. Like some modern Mr. Grey, the more I feed into your image, the more I quickly fade away. And I don't mind this hell I've crawled to, at least it's something that I know. But I can't help but feel there's more for me. If you just let me go. You were supposed to be my anodyne. Well, I need to find another anodyne. You promised me you'd be my anodyne. I need to find another anodyne.
Hey man, this is Donnie Baker at Wiley's Comedy Club, and you're listening to WWSU 106.9. I swear to God.
All right, welcome back to the Life Radio Show. I'm your host, Don Smith, sitting in with my guest co-host for the week, the very funny Erica Russell.
It's me, everyone.
Woohoo! Still on the phone with us, Michael Giudicissi. Was that right?
You did it again. Gosh.
Awesome.
Gold star for that.
We'll get this one way or another. All right. Now, before the break, we talked a little bit about you being a singer and a musician.
Yes.
Do we want to talk about that? What kind of music?
Sure. Well, that kind of winds up being a mixed bag. I've been involved in music probably since I was in high school. And then when I lived back east, I was in bands and played, kind of up and down the East Coast. And then I just left it for forever, almost. It seems like forever. I just dropped music when I moved out here to New Mexico, had an acoustic guitar lying around the house, and occasionally I'd play a song for my kids or my dog. But back probably 4 or 5 years ago, I just got interested in picking it up again and started playing and writing songs. Most of what I would sing now, you'd probably call country or Americana, but I'm a product of the 80s, and so I've written several soundtrack songs for my projects, including 2 for this current film.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question.
Yeah, that would be more, I don't know, kind of 80s hair metal, which is, very humorous when you see me, because Mother Nature took my hair years ago. And I've got a good buddy named Jimmy James Norris. He's a producer here in town. He's worked with me. Also, he's a really gifted musician. So, yeah, we've put a few songs together. And the title song for this film is called Last Night in Sumner. And I wrote that because I wanted to have something to roll at the end of the film over the credits that would be kind of a powerful song. But I'll give you the inside scoop here. I wrote it, and I just as a goof, like a total goof, I got on the Facebook page for the film and said, hey, when we were filming down at Fort Sumner, we were in the old museum building next to the cemetery. We found this lyric sheet in a pile of dusty old papers. It looks like Billy the Kid may have written this poem as kind of his farewell to his love, and we're going to try to set it to music. Well, half the people that responded said, oh my God, are you kidding me? What does it look like? Can we see it? What is his handwriting? This is incredible. And the other half of the people said, you lying SOB, how dare you? But I never went public, I guess until now, to set people straight and say, I was just joking. Like, clearly Billy the Kid didn't write a 80s heavy metal song. Well, 1880s maybe.
Right.
And so... But just to maybe give it a little more juice, I typed up a lyric sheet with a really old script font and then aged the paper and put a photo of that up on the website. But I guess I can admit that I actually wrote the song. Billy the Kid didn't. And it is on the soundtrack. So hopefully people will enjoy it and not get too mad.
Yeah, there's that controversy again.
Yep, for sure.
That's a hilarious publicity idea, though.
Yeah, definitely get their attention. Really? Yeah.
And you always want to go out in a bang, when you roll the credits, right. When everyone's walking out of the theater, you want them to feel juiced.
Yep. It brought me back to the when the initial release of the Blair Witch Project came out all those years ago. They didn't really say that, hey, these films are not real, and it looked real because it gave the actors these camcorders. And until a few weeks after the film came out, you couldn't really tell did this really happen or not. And the filmmakers just let it live on its own.
That was the brilliance of that film. I love that you pointed that out, and it's fun, especially with the sort of genre you've created in doing this. Like, the question becomes, is it the filmmaker's responsibility to inform the public as to whether or not this is, quote, true? Or just make something that stands for itself, that people enjoy, you know what I mean, that gets them out of their regular frame of reference for what a film or a narrator or an actor should be. I mean, I think it's really fun to play in that kind of liminal realm between reality and fantasy.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great point, and you're right. And which is the reason why I think some historians will watch the film and go, "Oh, that's not right. That part's not right. That part's right, but that's
not the point."
Right.
But other people will look at it and go, "Wow, I didn't know any of this, and now I know a complete story of this guy." And some of it will be conjecture, supposition. Some of it will be historically based. I posed a question to a group of historians a few months back. I said, because people always want the exact documented truth and nothing but. And I said, okay, if you wanted to make a film of Billy the Kid's life based only upon the tangible written and recorded evidence, how long do you think it would be? Mm-hmm. And I think you could write about a 3-page script and that's it. Because
and the other point is
it would be nearly as exciting.
History is written by the victors or whoever wrote it down. You know what I mean? You can get a skeleton of what that might have looked like, but you're never going to get, is there one truth about what happened? I mean, that's what's so fun to me about what you're proposing and what you've done. There never is one truth.
No, there's not. And, your truth, even saying, hey, the truth is somewhere between both sides of the story, not true. When you look at these people, and we're 140 years removed now, these were real complicated human beings with different motivations and desires. They had motivation to lie or deceive. They had motivation to tell the truth. So there's many, many truths about Billy. This one is mine, and I hope people will enjoy it for what it is.
Well, it's very similar to the Tombstone story and the gunfight at the OK Corral. I mean, there are different sides on that. When the movie Tombstone came out, it was one of my favorite, more recent westerns, and I watched that thing to where I probably have most of the script memorized when I was younger. And but I like to watch a lot of the DVD extras, and there's a big debate on there between because the surviving Clantons and their families that are just really upset about the way that movie portrayed them, especially with Ike Clanton was portrayed as this bumbling, dirty drunk, when in reality there's only one surviving photo of him dressed really nice in a three-piece suit. So there's always that controversy of people saying, no, it didn't happen that way, and that's the interesting thing about those stories is you can always find an angle to go at it from where, it all depends on your perspective of it.
And these themes are so, I mean, even though it's set in a totally different time, in a totally different scenario, if you tell a good story, it's going to be timely even today, just because these themes are universal. They're human. Right. So I think what's really compelling about what Michael has done here is, like, let's make history living again. Let everybody tell their side of the story. And even if it's, you can sit there with a bunch of professors and nitpick about what, right. But the whole point is, like, you're getting people excited about these old stories and you're re-engaging them for modern audiences, which I think is very cool.
The thing that's fascinating to me about the OK Corral, Billy the Kid, Jesse James, is you could look at these things. Billy the Kid was essentially forgotten to history for so many years after his death, and it wasn't until 1927 when Walter Burns Noble had interviewed the last of his surviving friends and enemies and wrote this sweeping saga that was mostly fiction, that he was remembered. His grave was even unmarked for 40 years, 50 years. People didn't even know where he was buried. And so we would never even be talking about this except somebody resurrected that story. Mm-hmm. Same thing with the gunfight at the OK Corral, although, we think about it as one of the most famous showdowns of the Old West. Until Wyatt Earp made it to Hollywood in his later years and wrote a book about it, and then befriended a number of cowboy or actors, portraying cowboys. That's when the story became engaged. And as you said, Erica, right, history gets to be written by the victor, or at least the person who lives outlasts everyone. And so Wyatt got to portray it, as this heroic thing that he and his brothers did. But we probably would never have even talked about that had he stayed in Alaska and went prospecting and died in a grizzly bear attack or something. So I'm sure there were just as many shootouts and gunfights that would be as compelling, but we'll never know about them, which is too far gone.
Yeah, that is true. All right, well, should we hit some news stories?
Sure, why not?
Let's hit some crazy news stories. This is one of the things we do on my show, is which we haven't come up with a title for the show yet. Usually, this show is about finding an episode title and or band names and stupid news. So, so here we go. We'll go ahead and get started. A Wisconsin mail carrier said a territorial, since it's Thanksgiving, we're close to it. A Wisconsin mail carrier said a territorial turkey has been chasing him through a neighborhood every day for about a month. Jeff Byrne, who has worked for the U.S. Postal Service for more than 20 years, said a wild turkey has been greeting him in the Allen Lane area of Waukesha every day and chasing after his truck. For the last month, he's been pretty consistent with being out here every day, Byrne told WTMJ TV. That's a weird name for it. WTMJ. Byrne said he isn't sure why the turkey is targeting him. Not sure if it's the colors of the truck, not sure what he really likes. Byrne said he was with a bunch of female turkeys. Well, that's the answer right there. The Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources said male turkeys are known to become aggressive and territorial during the mating season. Experts said the turkey might also be incensed by the bright lights on Byrne's truck. Yeah. So chased by a wild turkey.
Yeah, I think that's just an excuse for a DUI. The wild turkey was chasing me, officer. Not the other way around.
Yeah. All right. Off to a great start. That's
I gave you that was solid. That was a
yeah,
solid
that was
punchline.
good. That was good. Let's see. I don't remember half of these, so there we go. There was pig news coming out of Greece this morning on a morning TV on Tuesday. A large speckled sow took a liking to a ANT1 journalist, Lazos Mantikos, pestering him throughout a live broadcast as he attempted to report on the devastation of a beach town of Kaneda, which was lashed by torrential rains on Monday. The key word there is attempted. The love-struck pig persistently chased a grunting and yelping Mantikos as he ran in circles trying to deliver his report. As the viewers of Good Morning Greece watched, anchor Georgios Papadakis announced that they were going to Mantikos for an update on the serious situation on the ground. Good morning, we have an issue, the breathless Mantikos said as they cut to his shot. Georgios, can you hear me? We have a pig here that has been chasing us since the morning. Sorry, guys, I can't stand because it's biting me.
So the theme seems to be amorous animals.
That's
right?
the
thus far, yeah.
It's Thanksgiving, so some people have ham, some people have turkey. That's
getting chased by a wild pig, and you're not going to make an ex-wife joke here?
Oh, no, that wouldn't be right.
Wouldn't be prudent. Wouldn't be prudent.
Not until the paperwork's final.
Michael,
You have to lament the death of live TV, because you just can't get stuff like that when it's scripted. Gosh, what a loss if we ever lose those kind of live broadcasts.
That's true. Oh, let me see here. This one's kind of strange. There's a counterfeit market for everything, apparently. U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers in Philadelphia said they have seized more than 20,000 fake Oral-B toothbrush heads that were bound for an address in Delran, New Jersey. The products were found inside the airport cargo shipment on October 1st and had been flagged, quote, due to poor packaging and questionable quality, the agency said. Counterfeit brush heads are manufactured in unsanitary facilities with substandard materials that they may sicken users or cause bleeding to users' gums or mouth. The structural defects may cause the brush head to detach and potentially choke users, it said in a statement. CBP said the products were authentic. If the products were authentic, the combined retail value would have been $95,600.
but there's no clear explanation as to why this happened. Were they contaminated with something?
As far as the toothbrush heads, why
they disappeared. Right. Sorry, I'm having trouble keeping up.
Oh, sorry. They were confiscated because they're counterfeit. They're counterfeit Oral-B toothbrush heads.
Were they electrical ones? Because I think I know where those went.
Like the spin brush things.
Yeah.
You know where they went?
Well, women use them for alternative uses.
Gotcha.
Hey, now.
No, great toothbrush story, Don. Where am I supposed to?
Yeah. I just thought it was weird that somebody's counterfeiting Oral-B toothbrush heads.
Mm-hmm.
Just okay.
Can you imagine the brain trust sitting down? Okay, we've got to counterfeit something to make a living. What are they not going to look at us for? Toothbrush heads.
Yeah,
Goodness
it does
gracious.
seem true. It's like no one's paying attention to the toothbrush head.
Yep. Counterfeit toothbrush heads. All right. Here's one from Arizona. An Arizona man who allegedly stole another man's burrito earlier this month was arrested and charged with robbery, according to police. Timothy Bell, a 29-year-old homeless man, was in Phoenix on November 16th when he supposedly threatened a man on the street around 8:40 p.m. and took his Mexican food, quote, by force. The victim called 911 as Bell fled, according to court documents published by KPHO-TV, and followed the suspect until he was taken into custody by authorities. When Bell was stopped by police, they found on him, quote, a wrapper from the burrito he stole. The stolen item was listed as, quote, a burrito of less than $1,000 value. I don't know if there's a burrito out there with more than $1,000 value. So it wasn't Grand Theft Burrito. It was just...
Why wouldn't you get rid of the evidence, right? Well, I guess you wouldn't because you'd be like, look, I can steal a burrito, but no sane person is going to call 911 over it.
Not only
they
that,
did.
Not
only they
called
did.
911, followed him until authorities picked him up.
Right,
just to
because-
make sure.
As is sort of made apparent by the news story, any item valuing less than $1,000 generally isn't worth the police department's time.
Right.
But this must have been a slow night. They were like, you know what? We're going to go
Or-
out. We're going to find the burrito thief.
Or it was a damn good burrito. Because, I mean, I'd chase a man down for a good burrito. But
Can you imagine, like, having that be your thought? Like, I'm going to call 911 because my burrito got stolen.
yeah.
Like, I'm judging the person who called more than I am the person who stole in this case.
Right, yeah, exactly. Because the person who stole was homeless, probably hungry.
Yeah, they're like, I'm
Yeah.
hungry. I'm just going to Aladdin it up.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. I'm going to steal this burrito.
Gotta eat to steal, gotta steal to eat, or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious! People take their Mexican food really seriously out here in the Southwest.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But that,
absolutely.
but that potentially is taking it too seriously. That
Yes,
would be my
yes.
vote.
Yeah, he's a homeless guy. Let him have the burrito. In fact, why would you even fight over it? It's like, okay, here you go.
Just
I'll go get
have it.
another one. Enjoy. Eat in good health.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov on your your pilfered burrito. This blew up in his face. A Florida man was arrested after he tried to claim that the wind blew a Coke baggie into his car, according to a report.
I love Florida.
Joseph Zack, 37, was busted trying to throw something away when he was pulled over in Fort Pierce last month for failing to pause at a stop sign. To pause at a stop sign, because they don't stop at them in Florida. Police searched his car and found a crack pipe in the center console, as well as a clear baggie with white residue, which later tested positive for crack cocaine. When questioned about the baggie, Zach said it didn't belong to him and, quote, the wind must have placed it there, according to an affidavit obtained by the outlet. That's
Oh,
There's some-
Florida. It's the Detroit of states.
yeah.
I love many things about this. One is like the pipe is right there, right?
Right,
So
right.
it's I don't know, that was from my old
Yeah.
lady, man.
Yeah, and then the wind blew that bag into the
Like it's
window.
American Beauty, you know, when he's like, sometimes the world is so beautiful. Have you seen the film American Beauty?
It's been
He's
a
just
while,
washing a plastic bag, and it flew magically into his car when he already had a crack pipe there.
Yeah, which was convenient.
Yeah,
Convenient to have your crack pipe at the ready when the wind randomly blows a bag of
exactly.
crack cocaine
When
into
you've
your
got
car.
both elements in the equation,
Yep.
I don't know how
It's like
you'd
the-
have the audacity
Yeah,
to claim.
It's like the planets aligned for him, and he got his crack delivery on the
Just
wind.
a bad day, bro. Just a bad day. Bad luck.
But in some way, it's brilliant because at least you leave him with a little doubt, right? Oh, lie to your attorney, lie to the judge, lie to the jury. Don't say anything. At least he put a little, well, I don't know if it's reasonable doubt, but there's some doubt in there that maybe the wind did blow. It was windy that day. Right? Maybe you can get
Right.
away with it.
Right.
Guys have gotten away with a lot more, with a lot stupider
Right.
alibis. So.
Yeah, can they claim beyond a shadow of a doubt that it didn't happen that way?
Yeah, I went to
Probably
law
not.
school, man. The motto is deny, deny, counter accuse, right? So say, the cocaine flew in there
Yeah,
in my window and then just blame the cops for planting the pipe in your car,
right.
Right. Call them, I don't know. I mean, if you're white, I guess it's hard to call them racist. I would go with deny, counter accuse.
Yeah, that's good legal advice.
For Floridians,
Floridians.
it is.
Oh,
None of
yeah.
us are legal professionals, but should we state that? So don't take
Oh,
our
yeah.
None of
Right,
us
yeah.
are legal professionals.
Yeah.
I dropped out halfway through.
But you did learn how to read natal charts and tarot cards while you were there, which is handy. So
I did. I became a gypsy woman in law school when I was bored. Let's move on.
yeah. Let's see where we are. A pair of Massachusetts Institute of Technology students put their softball skills to the test when they broke a Guinness World Record for throwing a hot dog and catching it in a bun. Phoebe Lee, a junior at MIT, lobbed a cooked hot dog 120 feet, where it was caught in a bun by graduate student Amber Van Hemmel. The Monday record attempt was masterminded by Van Hemmel, who recruited her former softball teammate, to the effort after seeing a video of previous record holders David Rush and Jake Smith setting the mark at 105 feet 4 inches during the summer. The students said they had multiple practice sessions and took measures to make sure they would qualify for the Guinness record, including making sure the tossed sausage measured between 5.5 and 7 inches. So
That's the only sausage tossing anyone's doing at MIT.
Yeah. I think MIT sausage tossing is going to be the name of the episode right now. So. Yeah, whatever you can do in college to pass the time, I guess. That's
Yeah, I mean, like, we still haven't solved nuclear fission, right? And our best and brightest are out there lobbing hot dogs at each other.
exactly. That's.
I'm a little concerned, you know.
Yeah.
But,
The funny thing about it is the girls designated the hot dog at 5.5 to 7 inches, and all the guys thought and said it was between 9 and 12 inches.
Good call.
Thanks for picking that up, Michael. That's where I was going to go. I was like,
No
there's
problem.
some measuring joke in here, right? There's got to be something about the measuring.
Yeah, well, 5.5 to 7. That's average for a hot dog, isn't it? I don't
For
know.
MIT, that's big.
Yeah,
That's big,
probably
man.
Very big.
You're getting your self-worth other ways. If you wouldn't be at MIT if your hot dog measured above that.
Right, you'd have better
you'd
things
be
to
basing
do.
your
Yeah,
self-esteem
yeah,
on other
exactly.
things.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
But
you
I
wouldn't
love
have
that the
time
girls
to
were
study.
open. Love it that the girls were open to catching it in their buns. You know.
Right. Well, I think that was part of the record. You can't. It doesn't count if you're not catching a wiener in your buns, I guess.
That's right.
Okay,
We are
let's-
vile people.
Absolutely. Police in Louisiana shared security camera footage from an incident at a gas station involving a Chihuahua that managed to drive its owner's vehicle across the street. Slidell Police shared security camera footage from the Gauze Boulevard, gas station where a 5-pound Chihuahua had been left alone inside an SUV on Friday. A Chihuahua can't reach the pedals. Police said the Chihuahua knocked the SUV in reverse due to a mechanical issue that allowed the transmission to change gears without the brake being engaged. The video shows the SUV rolling backwards across a busy road as cars sped past. It's a miracle that no one was seriously injured and that no other vehicles were struck during this incident, police wrote. Let this be a lesson to everyone. Please use caution when leaving pets inside of your vehicle, especially a Chihuahua that you don't think can drive.
Yo quiero Taco
Yep,
Bell.
he was on the way to Taco Bell. That's what.
It looked like an accident.
Yep.
It
I'm out of here,
wasn't.
man. Oh, that's terrible. Let's see what else. I think no, we're about out of time. So I'm going to hand it back over to Michael to throw out any websites, social media, anything where he wants to gain followers.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me today, first of all. And the best place to go and find out, I guess the last thing is if you have any listeners in New Mexico, the premiere is December 7th in Fort Sumner, and it's free. You will need tickets, and you can get those at our website, Mankind Pro, P-R-O, short for Mankind Productions, mankindpro.com. And you can go on there. You can find out about the film. You can purchase the DVD. You can get premiere tickets. You can find out when we're streaming on Amazon.
Yeah, the
and then you
DVD orders they start taking them at December 9th. Is that what?
Actually, it'll be open by the time this airs. It'll be open for orders. We had some pre-orders that'll ship first, but we'll wind up shipping around December 9th for any other orders that come in. We'll premiere on Amazon Prime Video later in January, and we'll have a small theatrical release around the Southwest. And that's the best way to catch up with it. You can find me, if you can spell my name, Michael Anthony Giudicissi on Facebook. Always happy to connect with people there. And The Real MAG on Twitter. And come on by and say hi.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for calling in.
Thanks,
for joining us.
Michael. It sounds like you're doing awesome things. Sounds like an amazing project. It was a pleasure.
Thank you both. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Thanks a lot.
All right. Bye now.
Now, Erica, while we have you, do you have any shows coming up that you want to plug? Anything you have going on before we sign off for good?
Yeah, December 17th at Jerry's West in Chillicothe, Ohio. I will be co-headlining with Anna Mazza, who's a very funny comedian. Lori Graves will be on the show. She produces that one. Yeah, got a couple fun things coming up, but that's what I want to plug now. And appreciate you having me again, Don.
I appreciate you coming in. It's always a pleasure to have you in the studio. Even though we're not in the studio, we're just at the club. But wherever. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, and good to see you, listeners.
All
or
right.
listen to you.
Yeah,
Bye.
we'll talk at you, or whichever. All right. Thanks for listening. We will catch you next week. Thanks for listening to the Life Radio Show podcast. Check it out wherever you listen to podcasts. Remember, if you want to listen live, we are on Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. on WWSU 106.9 FM. You can also stream the show live at WWSU1069.org, and we go Facebook Live at the Life Radio Show's Facebook page. If you have suggestions or comments, feel free to email thelife1069@gmail.com.
Presence overwhelms me. The brutal presence overwhelms me.
Male turkeys are known to become aggressive and territorial during the mating season.